Claims we're going
Wow.
live.
Claims we're going live.
Claims. So I
You
got
let me know
Claims
when we're
good
going live.
connection. Okay, we're live.
What's
we're
up,
live.
YouTube? We are live. If you were on Twitch, this is the second time we're going live. It was that good that we had to do it over again. And that reason is because we are here with a very, very special guest. Before we get started, though, I do want to let everybody know this is not Matt Martin. I am not Matt Martin. However, I am his older, slightly hairier, well, more than slightly hairier brother. And with us tonight, I've got our good friend, Ray Ito. Anybody hear that? Okay. We got Ray Ito here out of Hawaii. He has dialed up, and got his DSL connection all the way from Waikiki Beach out to here live in the J Pink studio, beaming to us from there. Ray, how are you this evening?
He disappeared again.
Ray disappeared again. It is a technology disaster right now, but we have very, very capable hands working on it. But with me, even more importantly, is our special guest for tonight, Mr. Robert Palmer, also known as Turf Therapy on YouTube. Robert, how are you this evening?
Me. I'm doing great. I've had a very long week, but I'm happy to. I've been looking forward to this all week. It feels like Friday, even though it's not. Yeah, you know.
That's why we do. That's what we call it. Yeah, we were going to call it Wreck Your Weekend Thursday because if you have a few too many of the Thirsty Thursday beverages, it might really like ruin your weekend. But so far that hasn't happened, and hopefully it won't tonight. But no, seriously, thank you for being on. We did this intro once already on Twitch. If you're watching again, sorry. But I just wanted to say this so everybody on YouTube could hear it. But Robert has a really cool and interesting background. Not even just in life, but also in the way that he got into turf and the way that he really embraced it and made it a part of his life, and for very special reasons, I think. And so definitely one of the most genuine guys that you will ever meet in terms of his affinity for turf. I've enjoyed watching him from afar. I know Matt and him have a very special relationship that goes back several years, and trying to get him better and on the right track, and really kind of get more results out of his lawn. So Robert, I'm interested to hear your story. I mean, I think you told it once, and that was your warm-up, for the live stream with 100 plus people. Yeah, it was a good warm-up. You had to get warmed up. But
Yeah.
if you could tell it again to the folks on YouTube, just how did you get here from being Robert Palmer, who was just named after the famous dancer that got down with all the ladies, to being Robert Palmer Turf Therapy on YouTube? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, I can do that. What's going on, Cam? How you doing, man? So my name is Robert Palmer. My friends call me Rob. People on YouTube call me Turf. I'll accept them all. And at work, they call me Palmer. So speaking of work, I've been in the active duty military, Army specifically, for 15 years. I'm an explosive ordnance disposal technician. I just received my master badge, if you know what that means, as of like 2 days ago. So I qualify for that. So that just means that I have not killed anyone or myself. At least anyone I wasn't supposed to. So I got into lawn care because it was clear. It was literally on accident. I was trying to fix a hole in the backyard, and the contractors that cut this community out here, they did a terrible job at like a pivot turn in the backyard. So it was creating this hole that my dogs kept like playing in and eating the mud out. So of course, where else would you go to find valid sound information on how to take care of your lawn other than YouTube? So I went to the YouTubes and I looked for a strategy to fix this problem. And literally I was just out to fix the hole. So I very quickly realized, because it was late spring, early summer, that it wasn't necessarily the best time for me to go after a cool season lawn when it comes to leveling off. So I decided to hold off, but I was very intrigued on the fundamentals and the stuff that I learned in a very short period of time, and decided, I remember when I was a child having a decent lawn, and my dad, I remember when it was my chore, I would just mow it as low as possible so I didn't have to mow it for a while. I thought that, that was the best thing to do. So I wanted to get a little bit of that back. And while I was out there, I also noticed that all the noise, I call it noise, I call it static, white noise. Other people will call it something else, but I was really able to unplug. I was able to unplug, and for once, I wasn't in my mind. I had to focus on what I was doing, and I really enjoyed it. So I had the the best sleep I ever had. Well, not ever had, but that was the best sleep I had in a very long time. And then I just stuck
Hmm.
with it and just ran down the rabbit hole. And fast forward 2 years later, I'm here. I'm here now. Somewhere in
No,
between
that's
there, I
amazing.
started the YouTube channel. I started the YouTube channel to really the point in starting my YouTube channel was it was the first true hobby that I like really had outside of the military. My whole career up until about 3 years ago, it's always been about the mission and taking care of my soldiers. That's what I've been stuck on. That's what I've focused on. And sadly enough, most service members, they give so much to their country. By the time they leave, they don't know who they are. They have no
Hmm.
hobbies. A lot of them, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them, they get so wrapped up into the mission that when you leave, you don't even know what to do with yourself. It's like, I have hands, nothing's in them. What do I do with them? So
Hmm.
I thought it was really cool to have that, and I wanted to share that with other service members. So literally, the mission was to drive awareness to like, hey guys, go out there and maintain your lawn, and you might feel a little better. You know, the things that you may be struggling with from a deployment or just life in general. This could possibly be a fix for you. So here we are today.
Seriously, that is so amazing that you do that. And I guess that before we even really dive into the grass, but what's the response been, from active duty or folks that have been honorably discharged or retired or whatever? What's been the response from the military community in terms of you're trying to embrace that notion of, hey, the mission's over, but there's still something to do and something you can be productive in and kind of lose yourself in, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's been overwhelmingly positive. The installation that I'm assigned to out here, Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, they actually did an article on me last season. They were highlighting that a soldier was doing something and spending his time. They actually came by the house, took pictures. Oh no, 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 they didn't come by. They were going to, but because of that thing, they didn't. And I had to take my
Mm-hmm.
own pictures and send them to them. But that was the initial plan. But so they
Yeah.
wrote an article on me to kind of let soldiers know. So it kind of worked out. It was just like I was trying to drive awareness. Of course, I shared it with all of my EOD brethren, and I thought they were really just going to make fun of me initially, but they didn't. They embraced it. A handful of them started gardens themselves. They spent a lot of time with their family outside. One of my really good friends, he started one with his daughter, and he was like, "Bro, Rob, like this is the best time I've ever had with my daughter. Like spending this time with my daughter. He's not really into the lawn care, but he picked up a garden because also I picked up gardening along the way. So yeah, we working.
No, yeah,
Let's see.
again, that's just amazing that you have that point of connection with folks and can get the message out that it's not just yard work, right? There is a certain calm that comes over you when you just like put yourself in there and start doing it. And I think what you've said on your videos a lot is just seeing the results, like not only just
Yes.
like the instantaneous ones of, hey, I just mowed and I striped and this looks cool, but like also that long term thing of, hey, let's work on my soil, let's get a soil test, and let's develop a fertility plan and all that kind of stuff. So that's amazing. So tell us what kind of grass you're working with. You said you're in Aberdeen, Maryland. I think before you had said that's in
Yeah.
northern Maryland. So kind of just give us the
Yes.
background on what's the climate like, for the folks that aren't familiar with the Mid Atlantic, and what are you working with turf type wise?
So I have so when I started, it was turf type tall fescue, Kentucky bluegrass in the front and the back. So my front, the main portion of my lawn is probably 1,200 square feet. And then I commandeered a huge section on the side plot along the way. And it doesn't technically belong to me. It's like a common space, but no one gets angry with me or stops me. So I just keep going with it. It's become like an attraction in the community. People walk by. But so that side plot, I assumed that it was Kentucky bluegrass and turf type tall fescue, like the front and the back, but that wasn't the
Mm-hmm.
case. I later found out that it was a construction blend of a whole bunch of a lot of just random stuff, but mostly perennial rye, which
Okay.
makes sense because it's just a construction blend. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, though, I'd argue that my lawn is probably at 80% Kentucky bluegrass in the front, 20% fescue, and then probably about 60% Kentucky bluegrass in the back, 40% fescue. With in the little corner back there, I have some fine fescues, just a really dark, dense seed shade mix that I threw in that one little corner that only gets about 3 hours of sun at the best time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
when the sun is at its highest point in that pattern. So yeah, that's what I'm working. So now, because I discovered that I was working with rye on the side plot and not necessarily as much fescue as I thought, I
Hmm.
overseeded with a perennial rye Kentucky bluegrass mix this past
Oh,
fall. Yeah. So
gotcha. Okay, so
instead of trying to fight it, I
yeah.
just, I just figured I'd work with what I had, and I'm pretty sure someone would have lost their mind if I would have killed off that whole side plot and started from scratch. So, people would have started paying attention. They would have got panicked. So, and as far as the climate out here, it's weird, So it has its perks because during the winter I stayed warmer, being next to the water than people that didn't, let's say 100 miles inland. And in the gardening realm, I'm a 7B technically on the map, but I'm able to pull off things that you would have to be in 7A to do. Or did I
Hmm.
have that backwards? 7A. I'm a 7A, but technically my climate feels a little warmer sometimes because of, just being right here next to the water. The flip side of that, though, I deal with a lot of humidity. So my first year, I got bit really bad with fungus because I was just pushing too much nitrogen at the wrong time of the year. I didn't know anything about dethatching or anything like that. So I learned my lesson that year, and then I just applied what I learned from the year previous. But it's pretty moderate, and then during the summer it can get pretty warm. So like my lawn, the side plot's most likely going to check out. I'll be around July. I don't have irrigation. I'll try my best to keep her
Hmm.
going, but
Hmm.
you only can do what you can do so far. So yeah,
No, that's true. That's
that's what.
true, and no, that's a pretty good synopsis there on the climate. I mean, I think it's one thing people get lost in that aren't from the Midwest or over into the Mid Atlantic and don't realize like it's challenging in the summertime, right? Like you are
Oh
blessed in
yeah.
terms of the wintertime where it just doesn't get too cool, but man, it gets hot and humid there in the summertime
Oh
up
yeah.
there in the Mid
It
Atlantic,
gets
and
really hot.
so that's what I'm saying is like trying to grow. You talked about fungus and stuff like that, so the perennial ryegrass. First thing that's coming to my mind is like gray leaf spot, and then
Hmm.
brown patch on your tall fescue. So when did those things start to flare up for you? Like last year when you started noticing it, and what was your workaround, or what did you try to do to get yourself out of it? Just back off in, and did you use any fungicides or anything like that, or what was your strategy there?
So the first year is the only year I dealt with fungus. Last year I didn't
Mm.
deal with any because I applied a few different cultural practices that actually shaked out pretty well for me along with the application. But that first year I got bit, I tried
Hmm.
propiconazole. It helped with the brown patch, and really I didn't even catch it on the side plot because I wasn't maintaining the side plot at all. I would just spread extra fertilizer over there whenever I had extra. I would just like, all right, whatever, I'll do a pass, and then I'd leave it be. But it wasn't until the end of that first season where I looked at it and I was like, you know what, I want more mowing action. I want to be able to stripe, and I need to do that over there. But for the next season, I ended up using Headway G, and I use it
Hmm.
in a preventative sense, and then creeping up into the to that disease triangle for this time of the year for me. What I did was I started bagging. Well, first I made sure
Okay.
I did a really good dethatching that fall, and then in the
Hmm.
spring I risked it, but I think it paid off. I did a light dethatching because it was still pretty nice build up. So I
Okay.
bagged all my clippings, I reeled in the end, and I did a preventative application of Headway G, and I did that for the front and the back and the side plot, and I didn't have any issues. So just doing those things removed it,
Hmm.
and then I was good to go. And this season I wasn't even going to do a fungicide application, but I'm about to leave. I'm about to PCS here soon, and I didn't want just like extra product laying around, so I just went ahead and applied the remainder at the preventative rate again, and then used up the last bit of that and spreaded some extra on the other side plot, like the where I have like my line of inspiration on my neighbor over there, and then I spreaded the rest over there just to call it good.
No, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. I mean, yeah, you don't want to. You got to liquidate before you do that PCS. Although, are you moving yourself, or are you having movers come in and do it all for you?
So it depends. My location has changed. I was going to one location. I'm
Hmm.
now being told I'm going to a different one. we'll save that for the after show. We'll dig into it because I haven't
Sure.
released it on my channel yet. But if you're a member of the after show squad, I'll share it over there for you guys. So you got to hang around for that. But
Well, that's
yeah. So
I know I had to ask.
I don't.
I had to ask.
We'll get
No,
into it
no,
at
no.
the
I don't
after
really care where
show.
you're going. Yeah, no, the after show. That's good. That's good. No, I was just gonna
Yeah,
say,
but moving, it could be a partial ditty is what we call it when you move do it yourself a little bit of it because I have to move part of
hmm
my garden somewhere else,
hmm
and then I'll have the government come and pack everything else up.
No, I'm just saying that my younger brother is in the army as well, and so I'm well
Oh,
attuned
okay.
to how PCSing works, and so yeah,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
he's
yeah,
always looking
yeah.
for that extra weight to throw on the truck of like, you know
A
what, throw a
partial
50-pound
ditty.
bag of fertilizer. Yeah, I know how that works. That works. You load
What's your
up on all
brother
your
do?
stock for the next. So he is came in as a registered dietitian, and now
Okay,
he is in hospital administration, and so he's been all
nice.
over. I think he's got about 10 or so years in now, so he's a major and down in Virginia now.
Okay,
So won't go go
he's right up the
further than
street
that,
from
but
me.
yeah, he's not too far. He's not too far. So, but yeah, so
I know
that's I
where
mean
he's at.
again that's why yeah, you do. That's why I appreciate again the military piece and everything like that because you're right. I mean, there's just so much, and I could go on all night about that. But in any regard, yeah. So that's interesting. I really, the thing I love about your approach is you mentioned, and I know where you got this from, and I'm gonna drop that bomb in a minute because I think Matt told me to mention something about it. But you mentioned the disease triangle, and that's a
Yeah,
that's a really technical term. You got that from the Master Gardener class, didn't you?
of course. Of course.
But you're not one of those master gardeners. That's what I was told to ask if you were one of those master gardeners that knows everything.
No, no, I don't
That's
know
good.
everything. I know very little, but I think the course, if you walk into it with, so for me, I just like to absorb as much knowledge as possible in anything that I'm
hmm
interested in. And it wasn't necessarily for the allocates that, oh, I'm a master gardener. You should listen to everything I have to say. Absolutely not. Really,
hmm
what I was more
Yeah.
interested in was plugging in with a network of gardeners that had experience in my direct region. Because you can look
hmm
all day on YouTube, in articles, about all these other places where all these other things work really well. But there's no better information than right there in your hometown, in your home circle. So, and that's really how that's when I built everything from lawn to garden off of my extension office. And I know that all extension offices aren't created equal, but those guys, I mean, when you go back and you see my first videos, it looks like I'm teaching you, but really I'm just showing you my process of learning. That was that really was all it was. Just getting as much information as possible.
No, I love that approach because I think you're right. I think the two things that people don't realize that they can take advantage of in a lawn sense, right, is that number one, that network of people is so huge, right? It's so critical to success. And you've obviously reached out, like you've connected with Matt and you've connected with other people that are, smarter in one way or the other, right? Not necessarily like
Yeah.
the
There's a
smartest
cat.
guy in the room. Yeah, there's my cat. That's yeah. She
Right.
she's old. She's like going on
She
20
does what
years
she
old, and she
wants.
just likes to come. I do not get in her way. Trust me, Robert. There's three women in this house. She's one of them. I do not get in their way ever,
Leave him
ever.
alone.
So
Smart man. Smart
that's right.
man. Smart.
Yes, sir. So on that master gardener thing, though, the network is so huge, and I think that that's something that you're right that a lot of those folks are definitely plant, garden, vegetable, all that kind of stuff minded. But then on the flip side of that too is the training piece is like I've gone through that training myself and have seen that if you try to like cross reference that to what we learn in turf school or something like that, probably 80% of it applies, right? In the general
Right.
foundational sense. And so I think that there's a lot that could be taken away from that, both in terms of just the content, right? Number one, and number two, the camaraderie and the networking and just knowing people and pick up the phone and say, hey, I've never seen this
Yep.
before. Have you ever? And and that's the thing is like even the know-it-alls, like the busybodies, and you know who I'm talking about, the type, right? They're everywhere in all the master gardener circles, but um, they just want to help. They really do just want to help, and I
They
think
do.
that's an endearing quality about those type of people. And so I don't know. I guess from that standpoint of I guess from a gardening standpoint, let's start there because that's something that maybe people that don't want you maybe don't know about you, but tell us how important or how the gardening piece fits into also the turf piece and maybe some of the similarities that you've seen and picked up on and some of the differences, for people that might be into one or the other, but maybe not both like you are.
Right, right. So, gardening. So there comes a time between June to August for me where nothing's really happening in the lawn. I kind of just got to take a knee because of the heat that builds up out here. It's just,
Yeah.
it's nothing I can do about it. But I stumbled across what we know as gardening off of YouTube. There's this gardener. He's actually a YouTube guy. His name is Lead Farmer 73. My wife found him and I'm watching this guy, and she was watching him. She wasn't into really gardening. I think she was just watching him to watch him. And he was like, "What is your excuse? Why aren't you gardening? Like, why aren't you growing some sort of food source at your house? And if you're about to make an excuse, there'll never be a good time. Stop making excuses." And this dude seemed like the closest version of a drill sergeant to me. And I don't know why, but I just respond. I respond to that. Like, and I was just like, he's
Hmm.
right. Why am I not growing anything? So I really took
Yeah.
to it off of like a challenge first. Like, I can do this. Let me go do it.
Hmm.
And he struck a nerve in me. It was like a tap on the shoulder. So I jumped into it head first without any idea what I was doing. I did zero research. I just dived in. I picked a whole bunch of seeds, came home, dropped them all at the same time. I had cool season crops with warm season crops. I didn't
Oh
understand anything
man.
I was doing. And I just kind of had to learn as I went along with it. But right off the back, the first thing that I realized was gardening is in a way similar to turf in a lot of ways. Whereas you have your warm season turf and your cool season turf, and you have the best time of the year for those different crops. So I was very easily able to put that together. And then I already understood how to properly feed my lawn. So then I just took that and I transferred that over to, hey, so this is a vegetable that's going to flower. So what does that mean? That means I probably want to put a little bit more potassium, a little bit more phosphorus in there to help that plant out. So all those things just came really natural to me because I'd already had a good foundation in the turf. So, and then the best part about it all, to be honest, is when you go outside, when you need something and you don't have to go to the
Hmm.
store. Like, it's like, oh, my wife the other day, she was doing something. And she was like, oh, I forgot to get garlic. And I was like, you need garlic? She was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll go get garlic. And she's like, you don't gotta go to the store. I was like, well, I'm going to our grocery store in the front yard. So I went out there, pulled up some garlic, came in the house, rinsed it off, and the flavor is nothing. It'll ruin you. I'm telling you, it will ruin you. You grow your own food, you eat it for the first time, and you're just like, I don't ever want to buy a tomato again. I remember we
Yeah.
were like, she would pick up a sandwich, and whenever like the tomatoes and the lettuce and all that and the spinach is in at the same time, around the same time, keep all your condiments. I'm going in the house and putting my own tomatoes on here. I'm putting my own lettuce on here, and it just elevates the sandwich completely. Takes it to a whole new level.
No,
Onions out of this world when you grow them yourself. So that
really.
yeah, yeah, man. And then the thing is, how many times have you bought onions and then you put them somewhere and then within like 2 3 weeks you go back to them and they're already going bad?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
That's some bull because the average onion
Yeah.
shelf life should be anywhere between 6 to 8 months. That means that onion was pulled out the ground, sitting somewhere in some warehouse for like 6 months before you got your hands on it. That's crazy.
That's
So imagine
that is
like
crazy.
picking
I'm learning something.
picking your food, picking your food, right? And it's still living. Like there, I mean, obviously it's dying as soon as you pick it, but you're eating food with life, and
Hmm.
eating food with life is a whole nother experience. He said, what's the one crop in your garden you've obsessed over as much as turf?
That's a good. I
I
was just gonna ask that question. Like, what
uh,
what is your like, man? If I had to like nix everything besides grass in this one plant, what would it be? Or this one, vegetable, whatever the case might be.
so there's a plant that I never knew what it I never even heard of this plant until I started gardening, and it is the most interesting but rewarding plant that I think that I would grow every opportunity I have. And that
Mm-hmm.
plant is a kohlrabi, purple kohlrabi. Like
Okay.
that's my jam. A purple kohlrabi is my jam, and it tastes. It's like this sweet, nutty taste. It looks like it's not from this planet. That's just like the best description I can give you. It's purple. It's got like leaves coming out of it, but it's really good. Um, but other than that, no, I just enjoy the experience of planting one seed and watching it turn into a huge plant. You know, that's dope. That's dope. That's dope to me. I enjoy it.
And that really is that's the thing about turf that you don't
Food
get because it's
murderer.
a perennial crop, right? What?
Someone called
Food
me a food
murderer.
murderer.
Hey, I mean, we wouldn't be living, right, if we weren't all food murderers. So, yeah,
Yes,
call me
have to murder some
yes,
food, bro.
you
Gotta murder
have
some
to.
food.
And sometimes it's fresh garlic for your wife out of the garden. Other times it's like a McDouble at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's no judgment here. We're in a
Go
safe
get it.
space. It's all good.
Go get
It's
it.
all good.
That's right.
But you got to take that McDouble home and put some fresh tomato on it. Damn it! All right.
That's
Otherwise, we
right.
are going to judge you.
You keep your dead condiments. Them things have been dead for like 3 months. You keep that. I'm gonna go put some living stuff on it, or some freshly
Heck
murdered
yeah,
stuff.
fresh. You're like the Dexter of food. I love it. I love it. So
Absolutely.
okay, so on the turf stuff, then how in terms of like building your programs, quote unquote, not necessarily even just products, but like tools and equipment, and everything is like, how have you figured out like what's going to work? Like, is it just like, it sounds like with your garden, you were just like, I'm going to try this and just go for it. Is that how you are with turf too? Are you more careful? And just like, as a follow up to that, it's just, how have you amassed the tools, the equipment, the products to figure out, okay, hey, this is what I need to do next, and this is what I need to do next, and so on and so forth?
So I definitely started just like, I got a little bit of information and I ran with it. But due to the nature of my job, I tend to like get something and read it front to back. When you're doing EOD work, you have to read the instructions. Period. Like you go in there, there's no way that you can memorize how to safety every fuse or how to properly dispose of every piece of ordnance. So you become a very it becomes ingrained in you to read instructions, right? So I found a few videos. I got a good foundation. Once I got that good foundation, I then kind of just started doing my own thing. I like to call it um adaptive planning, right? So the first thing that I did was get a soil test, and I got a soil
Mm-hmm.
test, and then I had a plan in my head, but I watch the turf like every day, just like I watch my garden every day. And then
Mm-hmm.
I go to places like the Grass Factor to where I can like get some Matt Martin lingo and
You better
learn
be careful
a little
doing
bit
that.
more.
You better be careful doing that, Robert. I'm telling you right now. I will
So what I
confuse
do
you
is
so much you can't get anything accomplished.
it's pretty hard to
Dad, is that
confuse
you?
me when 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 you learn when you can understand how to take care of a Scud missile, it's very hard what I do is I just record you, and then I go back and I Google everything you say. I trust you on the surface, but then I go and I make sure that you weren't giving me lies, and then of course I check with the real master gardeners too, because they know everything. But no, I'm joking. But so I did that, and
Oh no.
I
Yeah, you better
I
Google what I say because I'm going to end up having you spray some warm season herbicide out there.
with some MSA. That's right. That's what you told me to spray.
Yeah, but
Matt told me to spray my Dallas grass with MSMA. No, I'm joking. No, you always start with a soil test, right? I started with a
Yeah.
soil test, and that's where I built my plan. I looked at what the results said. I went to my local CCA, and then I had him explain what the results meant. And of course, every soil test they'll tell you to just do these things twice a year and you're good to go. And I knew obviously that probably wasn't the best way to do it, and I wanted to stretch it out so I could have something to do throughout the entirety of the year. So I made sure I did that research, and I would bounce it up against other sources. Of course, I would go down the rabbit hole on the interwebs and try to put things together. But then fertilizer, I have a very intimate relationship with fertilizer due to the nature of my job. So like that was really easy for me to grasp what I was looking at in these different products as well. And then as I continued to use things like a factory tip from a particular company, I realized that factory tip was trash. So then I went on the hunt to find better tips because I wanted to be a more responsible applicator. So then I found on the lawn forum about these T-Jet tips and how much better they were. So I ordered them, especially for their price point. I mean, it was an easy win. So I got this. So like that's literally how I get things as I go. Like the Jack Doe PJB 16 that I run, that thing is sweet. It is one of the most underrated backpack sprayers out there. And it just doesn't get a lot of love because famous YouTubers aren't spraying it on their channel, I guess. I don't know. But I really like that backpack.
Which one is
That's
it?
because it's expensive. That's because it's an
Oh, yeah,
expensive sprayer.
it's dumb expensive. It absolutely is. But the best thing about it, I mean, it regurgitates and it sprays out every time, every single time, every down to the last drop. I don't have any issues. So I really like the sprayer. What can I say?
Which one is it?
Jack Del PJB 16. It's a European company, I believe. I want
Actually,
to say.
Jacto is Brazil. Jacto is
Oh, Brazil.
Brazil.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at one of their machines because it is super similar to the machines that I use.
Oh, I mean, it's not. It is kind of expensive, but it's not stupid expensive for what you
It's not,
get.
I don't-
I mean, for what you get. I mean, for what you get, it's quality, man. And then that battery life on that thing, I probably charge that battery once every month and I don't even remember. I don't think it's ever died on me. Like I'll go 2 months using it and then just plug it back in just to plug it back in type thing. And it has a so if you're training people or if you really suck at pacing yourself out, it has a built-in pace keeper as well. So you can like
Really?
hit the little but yes, it is it's
There's a
epic spray. It
metronome.
really is.
There's a metronome on the side panel where you click the button and then it gives you a beat to walk through. Am I right?
Yep, exactly. And then you can
Are you
change the
serious?
cadence
The
of
one,
that
right?
beat as well.
Yeah,
It's a
This is
pretty
amazing.
spray, man.
I'm in the market for a new one, so you guys just
So
sold me.
it's got
I mean,
the onboard regurgitator. It's got just like insane battery life. It's got the tips that it comes with is perfectly fine. You don't like you can use the tips, the factory tips, and you'll be happy with it. It sprays down to the drippity drop. Like the last drippity drop is it yep, and then variable pressure as well. You got variable pressure. So I love it. Yeah, I love it. But most people shy away from it because of the price. And it doesn't have a cool like gun thingy. It's just a normal
yeah,
standard
you know
alarm.
the gun thingy always kind of like threw me off because it's like I feel like I should be going to like the self-serve car wash to spray my lawn, and that's not like the vibe I want to get. That's not the vibe I want to get at all. So
Yeah.
I do enjoy though if
Oh,
anybody's into Reddit, pressure washing porn on Reddit is actually really good. So it's like you see all the dirt on the bricks and everything, and they take it right off. I do enjoy that. There is like this like cathartic moment that I enjoy about once a week. I'll watch it, but yeah, there should not be like big, huge like I don't know. I call it the turf Uzi because you're
Turf
spraying
Uzi.
all over the place and you're not at all accurate, and you're gonna get some stuff down, but it might not be in the right place. So I don't get those things. But in any event, you mentioned the soil test. J
yes.
Pink, you got that queued up? Oh wow,
Mm.
look at that. Right into it.
Bam!
On cue.
Wow.
On cue.
Oh wow, look at that phosphorus.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
No, look at that potassium. Look at that potassium,
Oh, yeah.
actually. That is
there's a lot
So
going on there. Wow.
this test was from 2019. I don't remember. J Pink, can you see it at the top? I think it's 2019 is
I
when.
cut that out
Yeah,
because it
it
had
has
your
to be.
address on it. Hold on.
No,
Oh
that's
yeah,
okay.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. No, like if you can see it though, I'm pretty. Oh, I can look at it. Like
Uh,
so, this is the only soil test that.
date received is February of 2020.
Okay, yeah, there you go. 2019, 2020. Oh, you know what? I redid it because the soil test I did in 2019, I later found out that the extension office just told me to do another soil test. So I did it. I'll just leave it at that.
So yeah, I mean, so since then, okay, so since this is like almost 2 years old, what have you done since? I mean, just relatively speaking, particularly with P and K. Have you
So
like did
coming
you look at
out,
this and be like, oh boy, I got to hammer this, or what'd you do?
no, I took it. I took the long and slow approach. During like right now, I switch over to my 31818 leading into the summer. I usually always use some type of balanced fertilizer. I popped a lot of 818 coming into the summer as well, back when it was readily available. Mm.
Hmm.
Um,
Rest in peace.
rest,
Here,
rest
wait,
in
wait, wait,
peace.
wait, wait. Here, let me pour one. Let me pour one out. There we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
appreciate that.
With some lemon
Yep.
water.
Some,
But
some lemon water.
but I take a balanced approach. I got with my CCA. I try to make sure that when I can push the nitrogen a little heavier, I'm always including some potassium and phosphorus along the way. And then when I need it the most, when I think the plant's going to use it the most, mid to late spring, I shift over to like a 31818. I used Stress X last year. That did me well. And then that's really it. And then I'll pay attention to the lawn. I think a lot of people don't give paying attention to the lawn enough credit either. Like your plants will tell you if you're watching them, they'll tell you a lot on the surface.
Yeah,
Robert,
that
that
is.
has been the weirdest thing for me with starting hydroponic growing is you get real time feedback within hours of making an adjustment to the pH of your water, or even increasing your ECC or whatever the case may be. You get, I
Yeah.
mean, hours feedback, and that is the coolest thing in the entire world to me. Is that real time, like almost live feedback loop that you get.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Yeah, I'd agree. I second that. Pat Kelly says, "What's my favorite MRE?" I don't have a favorite MRE. I have a favorite First Strike. A First Strike, that's my jam. First Strikes is that's where it's at. They're way better than MREs. And it's just the one with the French filled toast. What I used to do, I take the filled French toast, I put it on the tranny and the Jerv, and the Jerv is a joint response joint EOD response vehicle. It's a specific vehicle just for EOD personnel, but you put it on the tranny, right, on the transfer case right there in the middle of the seat, and then like after about an hour into op, it's nice and warm. You flip that joker over, let it sit for another 30 minutes, and then you open it up, and then boom, you're good to go. It's like having a fresh pastry straight from Dunkin' Donuts or something in the middle of nowhere.
That's an interesting way of describing it. It's an interesting way.
Yeah.
No, I,
Well,
I I love the idea of the balanced approach for sure. Ray, go ahead and what do you think about the balanced approach here?
One thing to
actually,
keep in mind, real quick, and then I'll shut up, I promise, is you're in Maryland, Chesapeake Bay area, and pretty tight phosphorus restrictions there. Obviously, you got a soil test to justify uh, pretty much as much phosphorus as you want to throw down at 9. I don't even know if that's parts per million or pounds per acre, but just putting that out there for an
Yeah,
additional piece of
Yeah.
information.
so I used a starter for going into dormancy and coming out of dormancy. That 182412 that's on the screen, I actually did pick that up from my local ag store, and I ran that for a while as well. But I figured I didn't need to keep pounding it like that throughout the season. I just took a nice feeder slow and steady type approach, and it seems to be working. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what slow and steady actually looks like.
Okay.
No products called starter fertilizer, please.
Gotcha.
What you do is you apply something like 111. Do you understand what a 111 is?
It's one. Oh, you mean like across the board, something that's balanced across the board? Is that what you're saying? Not
Balance
actually
across the
111?
board,
Or you're just saying like an
and
888, 16, 16, 16, triple
Mm.
12 or something
right,
like that?
Correct.
and
I use a triple
Correct.
12 this year. Yeah, I
right,
use a
and
triple
what you
12
do
this
with
year.
it is you just feed your 111 whenever the grass needs nutrients, because your nitrogen, of course, drives uptake of of your other nutrients, correct?
Yes.
So by applying everything in a balance, what will happen is, rather than you accumulating a high amount of any one element that then has the potential to run off or leach through the soil, instead, your grass is actively utilizing whatever you apply as you're applying it. You
Okay.
see, starter fert is a very good product when you want a soil load. And soil loading is what I call when somebody wants to accumulate a high rate of one element. Like, for example, they want to bump up that phosphorus really high right now with the intention of not having to apply again. And I
Okay.
basically turned away from that model of soil loading because soil loading is the past practice that has basically caused states like Maryland to write restrictions into their laws concerning fertilizers. Because I'm in an extremely environmentally sensitive area. Guess where?
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Exactly. We're surrounded by the ocean, and anything happens to the reef, the fish, whatever, they start looking at anybody doing anything. And it's not hard to convince them to just say, shut it all down.
Absolutely.
Okay?
So Ray, in that case, then and what Matt I think was leading into is, how do you manage in a phosphorus restricted location, geography, whatever? I want to get into the BMPs and the PPE stuff here in a bit because I think that's important too. But what would you do in this case if you knew, okay, hey, yeah, I'm super low in P and K, but I'm also in an area where I can't soil load, right? So that means more applications, much tighter intervals, right? And
Lower
what would
rates.
you recommend? Yeah, lower rates. So what would you recommend to somebody in terms of finding a product for that? Because the one thing that and I'll just say this real quick, the thing that I hate, and I've seen a lot of comments about this in different groups and comments around the internet here this spring, is people getting soil tests, which is great. But Robert, if you didn't know any better, look at the soil test. It says apply 5.5 pounds of 182412 between whatever in the summertime, essentially, right? So if you didn't know any better, you're just going to go out there and carpet bomb the shit out of the 182412 on your lawn and not think anything of it. And this is where the BMPs, the best management practices, come into play. So Ray, if you could break it down, what would you be looking forward to tell somebody, hey, you're going to have to change your entire philosophy on how you're going to supply P and K to your grass, and it's going to be this product or these products and these type of rates and timings.
Okay. What I'd be telling somebody is, you're going to be applying balanced ratio fertilizer at a rate not to exceed half a pound of P per 1,000 square foot in any one application. And you are going to be doing that throughout the year and during times when active uptake and growth of the grass is occurring. So, in other words, if somebody tells me they're going to throw down starter fert in the fall or winter when I know that winter rain and snow is going to be coming, I tell them, rethink that, please. Instead, I would want them to be hitting their 111 in the spring, early summer, and even summer if they have the irrigation to keep the grass, uptaking and absorbing, and then continuing again during the late summer, early fall active growth period. But what would definitely be out for me is ever telling somebody to throw down a pound of something all at one shot, and to do so at a time when I know that the grass is not growing. In other words, I'd be telling somebody, you are going to be feeding up to 2 times a month, even, but the amount of material that you're going to be applying is going to be way less than what you're used to, because I'm very familiar with applying fertilizer products in amounts as low as 1/10 of a pound of nutrient per application.
And that's wild to some people that they wouldn't think of that as being, you'd say, well, geez, 1/10 of a pound, what's that going to do? It's not meant to be like a big wow factor kind of application, right? This is in a case like Robert's here, that's maintenance, right? Whereas here, okay, so to kind of flip the script here, Midwest native soil, a well established lawn, sure, I can go out and bomb a pound, right? Or 5.5 pounds or whatever the recommendation was here on the 1824-12, but you just can't do that. And so that's, again, what I've seen a lot of folks ask the question, hey, I saw that I should put 5.5 pounds down per my soil test. Can I do that all at once? And I've seen people with potassium recommendations of, it said to put 3 pounds of potassium down. Can I do that all at once and just get it over with? And it's, that's like, hey, I don't want to go to Pep Boys and get my oil changed 4 times this year. So can I just change it once and it'll be good for, 20,000 miles? Oh, no. It's again, getting back into getting good recommendations. And so Robert, I'm glad that you were able to sift through this and sort of figure out, some of the reading in between the lines, so to speak, in terms of, yes, extension is good. I agree with you there. I just think it's all about context, right? And a lot of that context is left to the testee in this case to kind of discern what's in there. So Ray, back real quick, back on the products piece, there is, what are some of those products that Robert could use in the sense of, okay, hey, we're going to be doing lower rates, more frequency, and really not trying to load the soil, but just give the grass what it needs every, whatever it is, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, in that sense. And I understand the timing of, maximum uptake, but what are some of those products that he could look for without getting into the buy my shit realm?
Right. Well, I have to ask Robert, what does he have available to him?
So right now, Ray, I have 31818,
Mm-hmm.
1648, and I used up my 12 in the beginning of the season. I opened up my season with 12. And then when I was trying to make sure that my new application was going to take, I dropped a 1/4 pound of, or probably lighter than that, but of 2404. I had some good old Carbon X on deck, so
Ooh,
that out there.
the
as
old
well.
school, the OG good stuff, the OG good stuff.
OG
But
OG good stuff. But no, that's pretty much it. So all I have on hand now is pretty much just the 31818 from Simple Lawn Solutions, 1648. The 12 is gone, and then I got 720. I got a 7020 for the stress in the summer. But and then
Okay.
keep in mind I'm about to leave, right? So I don't really want to be into the product hoarding phase when literally I can be gone in the next 90 days. That's how weird things are for me right now. So
Okay.
No,
Understood.
no
Understood.
doubt.
Understood. Because what I usually base a lot of my balance programs on is something called 20-20-20. And the reason why I use 20-20-20 is because that is
it's
a
easy math.
product.
I'm joking.
No, that is a product that is extremely effective, even when applied at rates of 1/10 of a pound of nutrient per 1,000 square foot. It's extremely effective because it is literally a product that is extremely water soluble, and so it actually plays well into my program where I'm normally not applying granular anything, and that's another issue that I want to kind of get into because I am like hearing, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of granular products, and in my location, I actively avoid throwing down granules. I
No,
avoid it.
those are liquid, right?
Well,
So the only thing
those products are liquid.
the 31818 1648, those are
Mhm.
liquid. The only thing
Okay,
the only granular I've applied was Carbon Earth for the I had to do it one time for the gram. And then the 12 I opened my season out with to get a nice foundation.
okay. That's excellent. That's excellent because the 20-20-20 can literally replace everything, just about everything. I mean, that's just because what I basically do is here's my fertilizer inventory, by the way: 20-20-20, UMAX, which is 4600 stabilized nitrogen, 2600, which is ammonium nitrate sulfate, potassium nitrate, which is 13045, and a product called 06020. And what I'm doing
MPP.
with all those all I'm doing with those products is basically customizing my application depending on what the soil test actually told me to do. So if somebody's lower in their potassium, I incorporate a little bit of potassium nitrate into their solution. Low in P, they get the 06020 added to their solution, or else in cases where I'm good on my phosphorus and potassium, then they get UMAX and 2600 added to their solution, so I'm not applying as much P and K per application. And for the record, that will generally hold me for a 14 to 30-day application interval because I believe in seeing my lawns very often. And somebody just asked, no feature? Okay, feature is a extremely chelated micronutrient powder that is also soluble and highly available to the turf grass, and it's also compatible with fertilizers containing phosphorus. And I add that in as a micronutrient source, but please understand that I am not chasing extremely green grass. I'm not chasing extremely green grass. I'm after a very natural color that stays stable such that if I'm a little bit late with an application, nobody notices because the grass does not suddenly fall off and turn yellow or not as green as I've been keeping it. You see, my idea is to make it so that it looks like the grass is just always that way and it's not wildly swinging between blue and almost dead.
I like it. That's
All right,
solid.
so
Yeah, so
hey, Robert, you had a video about PPE. Something like you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that video. This was on my so I had to so PPE is very very important in my line of work, being an explosive ordnance disposal technician. If you are not wearing the proper PPE when you're dealing with certain things out there, you can get bit. You get bit pretty bad. So I was very interested in making sure that I was well informed on the topic before I went out there haphazardly just slinging stuff around in my yard. So what I did was I went back to my local extension office, and my CCA, my local CCA, he sat down with me and he just walked me through a lot of things. A lot of things I already knew, but I really just wanted to go to someone who was a professional, who was a technician certified in this area, that could give me some good quality feedback in the realm. So that's why I did that video. I think it barely got any views, but in the end, I learned stuff, so that's what was important. Yeah.
I was just trying to find it here.
What's up, Clint? It's like it's probably like my number 6 videos. Like number 6 video. It was like
Oh, it was
I
a
was
while
still in
ago.
yeah. This is an old video. This is in the beginning of learning. Like when I was learning, I was literally just recording it and making videos on it. Yep, this is the video of that. That actually got made right there. My buddy did that for me. EOD Brethren. He hooked me up. He wanted to give me a nice little gift, and that's what it was. So that was the intro. Now I watch my stuff now and I'm like, yo, this was so long. But yeah, there it is. I have my multi cameras and we were just walking through it. It's long. It is long. But it was a good video. I learned a lot with him.
yeah,
Andy. That's his
because
name.
I can tell you that PPE is basically everything because believe it or not, I don't look it, but I am old enough to remember when turf and agricultural products would actually kill you.
Wow. What's up, Clint?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
no, I believe that because I live in a world where fertilizer can still kill you. So it just depends on who using and doing. And I'm not
well,
perfect by any
depends on
means, and I do accept some risk here and there due to the nature of my ego sometimes. But overall, I try to be responsible, and I want to make sure that I'm making well-informed decisions. And the whole fertilizer will kill you. That's terrorists. That's insurgents using it
well,
for
I
something
get it.
other
I
than
get
what
it
it's
because you're speaking to an amateur bomb maker,
There we go.
so I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Okay, so don't need to hint around it because I know quite well. But I'm talking about. I come from a time where
Just
the
toxic.
actual insecticides and herbicides had skull and crossbones on their labels.
That's and you know, to be a trailblazer, to even be bold enough to still run with it, is that's a level of confidence in yourself alone, and the label and your interpretation of the label, to go out there and still do it.
Well,
Said FBI
you
watching now for
see,
sure.
you see, the thing is that from the 1980s till about 2000, year 2000, that's when I remember all of the crazy toxic stuff being around, and I've been a commercial lawn applicator since 1991.
That's a long time. That's almost
So
what? No, my brother was born in '91. You're dating yourself, right? You really are.
yeah, because I was born in 1972. I was born in
Oh wow.
1972. But
Okay.
my point is that the reason why I'm still around is because I took PPE seriously, and because back in the old days, they just the labels were written in the following manner: warning, may be fatal if swallowed, inhaled, or absorbed through skin. But other than that, there was no big emphasis on it. But I looked at that, and then I decided, oh my goodness, this will kill you. This will kill
So what
you.
did you have to do? Was the label super informative, or did you have to like dig up the MSDS and pull off the specific equipment that you needed? Like, how did that work back then?
Actually, I'm going to date back to when MSDSs were not a big deal either. That became a thing
Whew.
in the 2000s.
You was out there playing roulette, right? You're just
Well,
you're a trailblazer for real. That's
yeah,
insane.
yeah,
I
but
could never
then,
imagine
yeah,
not being able to have access to an MSDS sheet on a product.
well, but then because I understood certain things, for example, some of my PPE back in the day included, waterproof and chemical resistant, full body suit, face shield, respirators, and, of course, the chem resistant gloves. And one habit that I acquired that I know I really push on the Discord and even on the lawn forum when I'm on is I want liquid and chemical resistant footwear when somebody is applying, because one of the roots of exposure that becomes chronic is when your shoes get soaked or contaminated with products, and you wear those shoes day after day, and every time you stick your feet in them and your feet give off moisture, and then the chemical residue on the outside of that shoe then diffuses back onto your feet. Guess what happens to you? And
It's absorbed
furthermore,
cutaneously.
uh, because I always have, liquid and chemical proof footwear when I'm actually making applications, those boots, they live in the back of my service truck. They don't go into any homes, any buildings, not even my own house, not even my own truck. Never. Never, ever.
All right, Ray. Well,
Yeah.
what do you think of Robert's gloves here in this video?
Terrible.
Oh.
What
Was
product
that an
am
old
I
video?
applying? No, this is a new video. I'm applying some iron. So
Iron?
I
Okay,
I
okay.
literally have the gloves on for the sake of not getting my hands dyed. That's really it. So
Okay, because Robert, the thing that I'm going to tell you is that when dealing with a product that literally calls for chem resistant gloves, those disposable gloves are not considered chem resistant.
I
They're not.
understand. And I also
Okay,
do understand that if I made contact, that I need to switch those gloves. And that's a
that's
lot
right.
that, it's not on YouTube, but I did go over that in my PPE video. So, if people were to watch that video, they would, yeah, you might not see me talk about it and go over it in the video, but behind the camera, I'm smart enough to do a hot swap, and then I'm also smart enough, depending on the product that I'm using, whether or not I will throw on my actual CBurn equipment gear. Like I have the over boots. I got the chemical level boots and the chemical level gloves. You'll see that, especially in the video I was doing when I was doing the T-Jet tips. From time to time, and they just breeze by, and you'll see me. I'll have the proper levels of PPE on, but like I said, I'm not perfect, and depending on the product, I will assume a little bit of risk understanding the product when I switch up. So, and that's a simple long solution product as well.
Yeah, well, that you see, I consider fertilizers in most cases to be what I call the lowest level of hazard.
Me too.
But then again, I am going back to my old days where almost everything I handled had that statement warning may be fatal. Okay? I go back to that because, in other words, for people that don't understand, this stuff will kill you.
Absolutely.
This stuff will kill you.
It says it right on the label, especially when you open up the MSDS.
Yeah. Well, not even the MSDS. I've known people that have gotten into incredible trouble when, for example, the product has passed through their skin. Incredible trouble. Just something like that. And
Ryan,
I remember
are you
an
talking to
instant.
us?
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say the one thing with those disposable gloves that's a concern is not even so much of what passes through, but like if you're not careful and rub up against something and it gets inside the glove, right? It's now pressed up against your skin. It's got a barrier that's just locking it in so that you can have dermal exposure, right? So I'm sure, Robert, you're probably one of the more adept people on this subject in terms of the PPE thing because, in your everyday job, it's like a fact of life. It's not even like maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. It's no, y'all got to do this or bad stuff's gonna happen. And Ray lives that. He understands that too. And I don't know. That's just one thing. I think I'm glad you did a video on it. I really am. I think that's something that is underrated and undersold right now on YouTube. Is just realizing that even the stuff you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot or anything like that, like
Absolutely.
there's an inherent risk, right, that you need to assume and take care of yourself and your body and your family, whoever might touch that. Because it's even not, I've seen people do this too of, hey, I've got concentrated pesticide. I get it on my t-shirt while I'm mixing up. Oops. Okay, I'm going to take that and throw it in the laundry with everybody's clothes. And it's like you just made three-way soup in your washing machine. What are you doing? But it's
just because they don't understand though. A lot of it's ignorance. I started to cut you off, but a lot of it's ignorance.
No, you're good.
And you know what? If I came from the world of Ray, where this that's me in my full Kim op gear. But if I came from a world where Ray existed, I probably would never let my guard down. But I play with explosives, so inherently I like to accept a little bit of risk every once in a while. I will trade off my comfort and accept that inherent risk in the situation when smart. And I'm not saying that you should follow what I'm doing, but I challenge you to understand when you're taking a risk. And I think if you understand when you're taking a risk, I think that is more than reasonable.
Hey, and I'll say this real quick since Matt isn't here, but Johnny Vescu, stop it. There, that's my best Matt impression.
Wait, yeah.
Stop it, Johnny.
You're making me
unnecessary,
sweat,
sir.
Johnny.
Unnecessary,
Yeah,
sir. Unnecessary.
That is unnecessary. I'm getting hot.
Yeah. You're making me sweat.
Matt's in the car.
Making me sweat.
He's in his car right now, and he's taking his entire shirt off. There are no buttons left to be undone. He's following us right now on YouTube.
But
He's gonna get pulled over by
though,
the Kentucky State Police then without a shirt on.
Yep. But seriously, Robert, I feel like we are living in an extremely good time because like on Monday, I was out treating my customer's lawn for nematodes. Okay. I was making that application and I didn't have anything on as far as PPE is concerned other than my liquid proof boots, long sleeves, long pants, and rubber gloves, my usual chem spray gloves. If I were doing that same type of application 25 years ago, I'd be in the full chem resistant suit and face shield and respirator under that face shield.
You'd have on the SCBA, Ray? You'd be running an SCBA in the Tyvek suit?
No, not even Tyvek. Tyvek's not good enough because Tyvek allows permeation of liquid.
Through the, which way? In or out? I can't remember.
In. Tyvek allows liquids in. So, Tyvek is not considered.
The amount of the microns would have to be what? Like that's at like 1 to 3 microns or something. I mean, not to say that our sprayer tips aren't putting them out that small, but yeah, I got you.
Well, it's not a matter of that. And,
it's degradation.
Speaking to that.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking to the point of, mixing and loading, products. A lot of the products, like even your so-called 3-way or 2,4-D based herbicides, this is an essential part of PPE even to this day, or especially in these days. In certain container sizes, you are supposed to be handling the concentrate only when you're wearing a liquid proof apron. And that liquid proof apron prevents a lot of the accidents or problems where something splashes, something spills, the concentrate, splashes back towards you when you're handling and mixing the product. That liquid proof apron I can tell you how many times that liquid proof apron has saved me. Quite a few.
I don't know if this guy is trolling or not, but I'd like to address him. His name is Pete Detragali. He says, so humic isn't necessary, micronutrients and sea kelp, that isn't necessary. People using compost are wrong. Also, I guess organic is way to go for long-term success. And I tell you, Pete, there's years of scientific data that if you're to think that science can't help in thinking that organics is the only way to go, full organic lineup is the only way to go and achieve a healthy set of turf, I say that you have been steered terribly wrong. You have the equivalent of understanding to the person who also thinks that if you use a nuclear device that it is a wasteland for the next 200 years. I would challenge you to go and actually take a moment and do a little bit of research, go to your local extension office and visit your CCA, and they will explain to you, when applied properly, following the label and being a responsible applicator, that you can achieve a lawn with organics and non-organic compounds. That's all I got on that.
I'll just follow up real quick and say that it's a situation where stuff is being sold now under the moniker, title, flagship of organic and natural and humics and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with them. I've used them. I still use them in certain cases, right? There's a tool in the toolbox for a reason, right? When it's needed. And so the only thing I'll say about this is to say that's the only way for long-term success is a bit naive. Yes. And I don't mean to say that in a negative way. I'm not trying to be, put that in a pejorative term that you don't know what you're talking about. It's more of there are many different ways to get there. However, I will also say too that there's been fantastic, outstanding, world class. You put the superlative in, pick it and do with it what you want to do. But world class turf before any of this stuff was marketed and sold and bought, right? So, is it necessary? That's a pretty strong term, necessary, right? Does it help in certain cases? Definitely. Does it apply to everybody, and does it need to be a part of a program for somebody to say, hey, it's going to be successful or it's not? Or to not only that, but predictably and definitively say, hey, because I used X, Y, or Z product that was humic, natural, organic, whatever the case might be, this was going to be a successful, stand of turf. Nobody can say that. Nobody can say that. And so that's where it gets into these product claims and what we have to sort through and sift through as consumers, right? It doesn't matter if we're the newest kid on the block or the most seasoned pro. We all have to sift through this stuff and find out what's going to work best for us. And so I like what Robert's done. He's armed himself with not only the knowledge, right, and going through the Master Gardener program, which again, I think a lot of that transposes over into turf, the basics of it, right? And he's also built himself a network of people that he can, one, vet BS through, right? And then take their BS and vet it through other sources. And that's really what a network is all about, is, you try to meet people smarter than you, but you also trust but verify, right? You're in the military, you know what that's like, right?
Trust but verify. That is golden words, and words matter. And Pete, like you said, that's not what you said. The statement "organic is the way to go for long-term success" comes with an implication to me that you are saying that is the way to go, like that is the only way to go. If I misinterpreted, I apologize, but I just don't want that to be like the kind of say. I use everything that you said in my lawn. I use humic. I use seaweed. But to say that that's the only way to success is a stretch. And I'm glad that's not what you meant. If that's your preferred route, go for it, brother. Go for it.
Okay. And the last thing, I don't necessarily judge people on what they use, right? I'm just more of, do you have all the facts and are you making a good decision, right? And so some of this we will get into on the after show, because there was a good topic that came up this week that is not public show worthy, but will be an excellent after show fodder for this group, I'm sure. And so I just want to get back into the whole thing of product choices. Is you choose what you're comfortable with and what you see and what gets results. And people are going to criticize that to no end, no matter where you're at, what you're doing, how you're doing it. But again, you have to ask yourself, am I buying hype? Am I buying hope? Or am I buying what I know will work, right? And at the end of the day, only you can be that judge. But I do think that there are definitely things that are out there now, not necessarily humic as a whole, not necessarily natural organic as a whole. It's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are lots of claims that are made with any product that you should trust but verify before you make statements of this is the way you need to go or whatever. Pete, if we took your words and twisted them, I'm sorry. Maybe you were being facetious and we just railed on you for 3 minutes here for no good reason, but at least we got to get on our soapbox. Robert got fired up about it. I got fired up about it. So
yeah. I'm sorry, Pete. I really am. If I misinterpreted, like I said, I'm sorry. I apologize. And if I didn't, then I meant what I said. So that's it.
So, okay. Now, and the other thing I wanted to talk about too with EMTs, and one real quick, I had to throw this in there. J Pink, can you roll that video I sent you? Because people were criticizing me in the chat, and I got to set this straight. I'm going to hold on, and then we'll get into one. There's a little article I want to go into. This is power washing porn. Now, tell me this is not the most satisfying shit you're going to watch all week long. I could sit here and watch this for hours. Oh, isn't it great?
Tip is that? What is that?
I don't even know. That's the thing, is like I watched it. I feel like a lawn care noob when I watch this, because I want to learn.
Algae, guys. That's like thickly accumulated.
It doesn't matter what it is
on concrete.
It doesn't matter what it is, Ray. Look at it. It's getting destroyed.
Ray, don't ruin this for us.
I don't care what it is. It could be dirt. It could be You know, this guy could be the jizz mopper at the local peep show. I don't care. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. All right. So I just wanted to set the record straight. This is power washing porn. You can go on to Reddit, find this stuff. It instantly pumps me up. It's weird. It's not erotic, but I enjoy it. So, okay, back to the show again here after I qualified that comment. J-Pink, I sent that article in Dirty Deeds. If you can pull that up real quick. I want to kind of go through this here as we sort of round out the show and get here. You know, we've got a little bit of time left for sure to talk about this, but I thought this was a really interesting article, and it's interesting in the sense that this is from Middle America, but you know, Robert, you're in a really, really kind of dicey area location-wise, you know, in terms of Maryland, Chesapeake Bay. You know, Ray mentioned the fertilizer restrictions and things like that, but also
Absolutely.
there's certain counties in Maryland, right, that have outright banned pesticides. We've talked about those on the show before. You know, so this article, and let me see, this thing is coming from Iowa State, and it's the idea that we shouldn't mow our lawn in May as a sign or a symbol to allow nature to take its course and for the lawn to be free, because the lawn, I think the quote from the article was something to the effect of, the lawn provides no benefit to the environment whatsoever. I got to take a big deep breath on that one when I say it. You do get 36% off of whatever that coupon code was there too, as J-Pink flashed by. But okay, so it's to bring awareness to non-native lawns that we tend to think are perfect when in fact they're not. All right, so Jenny Mitchell, I'm sure she's a great lady, nice person, might be a mom, a sister, a daughter to somebody, and she's just got a really bad opinion, bad take on this one. They contribute nothing to our environment whatsoever. When we know that the truth of the matter and the benefits of turf grass, if we look at this, right? If you folks are longtime followers of the Grass Factory and you listen to him on the radio, he used to do that that segment called Bono's Turf, if you remember that. I'm not going to even try to do the jingle, but it was the greatest little intro ever. I wish we could play the MP3 right now. But in any regard, the idea that turf is not being a carbon sink, for one, and filtering the water and controlling erosion and things like that that's coming into it, that's number one. Number two, if we were to let these lawns grow up this tall, right, it talks about pollinators and everything like that. I've got nothing against pollinators. I think they're great, and I think there's a way to incorporate, you know, in certain senses, a lawn that supports those type of insects, right? And so when it comes down to it, when we grow these lawns up, then people are going to start complaining, well, we've got noxious weeds that are growing up because we're not mowing our lawn, you know, low enough or more or frequent enough, and we've got ticks, and we've got all these other problems, that rodents and things like that kind of come into consciousness that are already there, right? But we're putting a situation in an environment that's right for them to develop, right, and to become a problem. So again, I asked the question of Ray and even Robert, you know, on your level, is where does this article land with you guys in terms of the statement that they provide no benefit to the environment whatsoever?
I
take it
am
first,
gonna.
Ray?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this, because even when I was a kid,
you want me to go first?
Even when I was a kid, here's what I became very aware of. It is normally about 80-something degrees, low 90s, you know, here, except for maybe 5 months out of the year. That's just constant temperature. And it's also humid as heck. But what I noticed is that when I was running across a green, well-watered, mowed lawn, that was like the one place that wasn't hot. And later on, you know, when I became able to read and, you know, analyze and, you know, etc., here's why. It's because that turf grass is basically taking the heat and utilizing it to grow. Whereas something like concrete or rocks, or even like, one of the hottest places I can step into is a field full of dried out weeds. That is just gnarly hot. So everybody is, in a tizzy about climate change, right? One of the hedges against climate change is having as much green live grass as we can get, so that the heat out of the atmosphere, the heat generated by our urban lives, gets removed and gets put to something. And that use would be, you take that heat and you use it to grow green grass. I mean, that's just so I beg to differ, because, by the way, Ryan, you're probably familiar with this. How hot does synthetic turf get on a sunny day?
Probably
On a
10
sunny
degrees
day,
higher than
on a sunny
10 degrees
on,
higher.
on a s- oh, more than 10 degrees higher on a sunny day. I think we talked. I don't know if we talked about this on the public show or a private show, but we modeled this right for the hottest months of the
Mhm.
year. So from June through September, hottest we ever recorded turf was 167 degrees. Hottest we ever recorded natural grass was about 98 degrees, and that was on a day that it was pretty much 98 degrees out that day. Blacktop, I think the hottest was about 150 or so. So synthetic turf was actually the warmest surface that we measured. You could melt your molded cleats, like your baseball cleats or football cleats, on that stuff. That's how hot it was.
Yep, yep. I mean, that's what I thought, because okay, the only big stadium that we got here in Hawaii has synthetic turf, and I remember there's a reason why they never play any daytime games there, or they avoid doing it, especially not until December. And do you guys know why?
Because the
Because the poor
temperature.
I
football,
don't.
yeah, because the poor football players would probably all get heat stroke if they had to play on that turf, like, say, in September during the daytime. That would kill all the guys.
No, that's
So,
legit. That's legit. I mean, it's also just like skin burns and things like that. So you're right
mhm.
that the moderation of temperature is another benefit, right, to it. So I, again, these articles always come out, and I'm always curious of, like, Robert, you're in a completely different train of thought as a homeowner, or not necessarily a professional, but you enjoy and you're a hobbyist in your lawn. So where does this land with somebody who's got some of the knowledge, the baseline stuff for the master gardener stuff, has some good experience and everything like that? How does this sit with you and you see things like this that are kind of clickbaity, I guess, a little bit?
Yeah, definitely clickbaity. I tell you what, like when I read the article, she started off good, and then towards the end, I was like, cool. But she messed up for me in the middle, right? Where she's claiming that, the turf essentially serves no purpose. Now, I like the idea of let your lawn overgrow as a symbol to plant more flowers, because that was a very good narrative. But whenever you attack the turf as if it serves no purpose, I can go outside right now, walk around, or you lay down on my turf right now, you will have bugs on you and they will come back inside with you, because there's insects
Mm-hmm.
very much living inside of my turf. So the statement, I mean, being an entomologist, I get it. Like, you're all about insects. It takes a unique person to study entomology anyway. But to lead in with a statement that bold, and that just when everyone, I am whenever someone is very firm on something, like they're just absolutely 100% firm on it, I usually tend to run the other direction. Whenever you're that sure of yourself in what you're saying, and there's no wiggle room, right? There's no room for error or growth. That is automatically a flag to me. And I love the message, the intent of getting people to plant more stuff. because that's what I try to do on my channel. I show you how you can have the lawn and the garden if you're responsible. But telling people not to mow their lawn because it serves no purpose is just a very ignorant thing to say. And I would expect better from a person who has studied for an extensive amount of time in academia. And that's when I just translate the whole thing to clickbait and throw it away because you've lost your purpose. Like you opened up strong, then you lost me in the middle, and then you closed well. And if you would have just stayed with the topic of like kind of like no shave Movember for males. Let's not shave our mustaches to raise awareness on men's health. Got it. I can get behind that. That's solid. But saying let's all grow our mustaches because shaving them, I don't know. I don't even know where to go with that. But you get what I'm saying. Like something that's just not true. Like if you grow your mustache, you'll take 5 years off your life. Just like that's an outrageous statement. So I really think that those titles are driven for ticks and all the daggone ads that we saw pop across the screen, which just irritates me. It's irritating. It's not true, you know.
I agree. And on the mustache thing, you know, that to let your let your mustache grow out. I mean, everybody knows that bigger flavor savers are better for the environment. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So, guys, if you're going out with your girl, I mean, just remember that, you know, the bigger the duster you have, the better you're going to be, you know, even in tomorrow, maybe. I don't know.
Brian says it right here. He says, native grass area in the last few weeks is, it's crazy. Brian, she drove me crazy. Oh, you pulled me up. Here we go. That was that was a lunch break saga right there. Lunch break. Yeah, those are the ASUs. That was a lunch break saga. We had a board that day. And I was showing the production on, which is actually filled in quite a bit since that little video. But I was coming home every day during the during the week for lunch. And I was finding and discovering something in my backyard every single day. And it was a really cool week for me. So I just, hopped on and figured I'd do shorts, But yep, that's me in my ASU's Army service uniform.
Hot damn. So tell us, here, as we start to round this out is, what are your goals for this year? I mean, obviously so with moving and everything like that, like this is a good thing because, people are selling houses right now and everything like that. I know, I don't know if you know John Ware from the Lawn Forum. He's he's building a new house right now. And so I saw him mention this the other day that he's got this sweet, I mean, it is the sweetest lawn you'll ever see, right? And he was talking about people buying his house, and somebody asked him, hey, are they excited about the lawn? And he was like, they don't even care. Like they don't even care. And it's like, this dude has put like so much time and effort and everything. And these people are just going to be like, yeah, I'll mow it like once a week and maybe do something to it. I don't know. But in any regard, I guess goals wise, like you said, you might have 90 days ish. We know how the Army is. Hurry up and wait. So what's the goals in, you don't have to lead on to where you're going or anything like that, but how are you going to kind of like shut things down, and how are you going to prepare yourself for maybe going somewhere different to scale up towards the end of the growing season, most likely, or near the end of it, right? So how does that work for you?
Really the first step is figuring out exactly where I'm going and when. And as soon as I know those things, I can start backwards planning. And that's why I adaptive planning so well, because that's been my life since 15 years. So as soon as I know what that date is, then I will effectively start a backwards plan to end on some note. Like it's kind of bittersweet to end in the middle of pretty much my lawn's probably going to look the worst it will look for the entire year if I leave around July, because it's going to be like semi-dormant. It's going to be stressed out, and I'll be leaving like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do here. And then I'll be in a similar position as John. I'm sure the next person who moves in here, they're not going to, like, they'll admire it when they first get in here, but they're not going to do the basic cultural practices to maintain it. The average person nowadays just does not have patience, and they don't have the discipline to maintain a quality turf just by doing mowing, feeding, and watering. Most people can't do it. So I guess the goal for me is to make a clean break and then get to where I'm going, and maybe try to predict the stuff that I'll need before I get there, which is even hard to. I don't know, man. I have no clue. Just like ask me in a couple weeks when I actually know.
No,
sure.
that's but that's the
I can start
messiness of
putting
life.
together
Is
something better.
yeah, life's
Yeah.
messy like that, right? And you got to just I like that adaptive planning thing. I think I'm going to use that, right? There's probably an Army field manual somewhere that
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
read on adaptive planning, right?
That's
So,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
so so
That's
when
the
you
thing.
go somewhere new, I mean, this is more of like, okay, now that you know what you know, what would be your, whatever 3-step, 5-step, whatever plan of like, obviously it sounds like getting a soil test is going to be number one or near the top, but what are
Yep.
some other things that you're going to
Showing
try
up.
and do to assess?
So I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna knock out a soil test. If there's an extension office in the area, I'm gonna get plugged in with them, figure out what my trends are for my area. If I have, I'll
Mm-hmm.
go and I'll find the nicest lawn in the block. Go knock on that person's door and ask them if he hired it or if he does it himself, and ask him, "Hey, do we have brown patch in this area? What kind of fungus do we deal with? If it's even that kind of environment." Identifying my grass properly this time because I kind of skipped that step on the side plot and I just made some assumptions. So that's like the core, like showing up, soil test, doing my historical data research, reaching out to the extension office, figuring out the habits and the natures of my climates, trends, uptrends, downtrends, and really just getting in tune with that as much as possible so I can start to make an adaptive plan. Because, you plan all day, and plans are great, but then
Mm-hmm.
when the balloon goes up, you can pretty much take that plan and throw it away. But you make plans and you never stop making plans because when you're faced with these different scenarios and variables, it's not all foreign to you. You're very familiar
Mm-hmm.
with to me, because it's like my area of operation. This is my theater campaign plan for my lawn. And I need to know as much information about this lawn as possible and then have enough of fundamental um, techniques and tactics and have a few tools in my bag to where I can execute the goal, which is at the end of the day to have a beautiful lawn and garden. So that would be
I
my
love
plan
it.
as soon as I show up to yeah. And then learn all the new local state rules and regulations because that's a pain. Like Maryland, blackout zones. Like I accidentally figured that out. So yeah.
Accidentally figured it. Yeah, not by somebody knocking on
Yeah.
your door and saying, "Excuse me, Mr. Palmer."
No.
Yeah.
No, I was just reading the article and I read all the way down to the bottom of the article and they were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're a blackout zone. There's a blackout zone." I was like, "Oh snap, I didn't even know we had a blackout zone." And so or I think it was on a bag of fertilizer. That's what it was. I bought a bag of
Oh.
fertilizer and I was reading the bag of fertilizer and on there I learned two things. I learned although I already had my soil test done, I was good, but it says you cannot apply phosphorus products in Maryland without having a soil test. And then it said, do not apply any more than zero point 0.9 pounds for homeowners of nitrogen at any one given time. And then it also
Mm-hmm.
said, make sure that you're not applying during blackout dates and periods. And I don't know what bag of fertilizer that was, but it was all on the bag. And I was like, oh, let me get into this a little bit more. So read
Wow.
the label
And
and
again,
follow it.
read the label. Yep. Read the label. That's right. Ray, if you could just, in a few, seconds, minutes, whatever here, just, as we wrap up, is what would you be looking for? You go on a lot of new properties and, in the simple sense, without, getting too Ray or too Ryan into this, because there's about 1,000 things that we'd be asking questions. And I mean, me, but if you had to break it down into like the top, 3, 4, 5 things, if you were walking on a new property that you would advise homeowners and folks like Robert to look at and try to understand about their new grass, their new situation, their new garden, whatever the case might be. What are those things from your perspective?
Number one, know what kind of grass and even landscape plants and trees you've got going on in that landscape. Number two, figure out how that area is going to get water. That's like a
Mm-hmm.
big one for me is water. I cannot say that or emphasize that enough because one of my old bosses from, you know, almost 30 years ago, he basically sat me down and he told me, if you have proper irrigation, you can make plants do anything. And if you don't have it, that's like the first thing you'd better be working on. And number 3 on that is get your soil test.
Mm-hmm.
Get your soil test. And then number 4 and 5, I suppose, would be understand any kind of local restrictions regarding, pesticides or fertilizers. And that would be basically what I look at.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like Robert's adaptive planning matched up with Ray pretty strongly there. So that's awesome to see. So awesome. Well, hey, anything that we didn't cover, my camera just dropped out, but don't mind that. Anything that we didn't cover, Robert, that you wanted to ask about real quick?
I would love to dive into GDDs, but I know that I'm just gonna have to get on the phone with you one day, because I know I just tickled your funny bone, and everyone keeps talking about my app. What's the name of my app? My app is Turf Therapy. It is a fertilizer calculator, and before you go and run and buy it, I need you to understand that the app is for calculating your desired rate of nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium, and that the rates for the liquid is not for the size of the container that you're spraying out of. It is for the volume. It is for the volume of the container of fertilizer that you're using. So I think a lot of people dive in thinking that it's one thing, but it's not. But you got to read the instructions. You have to read, and I got little eye things there that'll help you along. It's not perfect. I wanted to do a lot more with it, but I put my own money into it. It's not free. That was a heck of an investment of me not wanting to deal with math anymore, especially on the liquid end. Granular is pretty easy. Liquid, it just annoys me sometimes because I'll get stupid out there in the middle of the sun. So I made this app. I made that happen, and before I released this app, there was nothing like it. Now there's a few options out there, but mine's not free. I was going to make it free, and then I decided I wasn't going to do that. So because I put my own money and hard work into it.
Is it Android only?
Free. No, it's in both Google and Apple. So yeah, it's in both of those stores. It's 99 cents. That's it.
And they just search Turf Therapy.
Just Turf Therapy, and it'll pop up. Yeah. So thank you if you bought the app, and if you don't like the app, if you got Android, you can download it and delete it and get a refund within, I think, 24 or 48 hours. Apple, well, I'm sure you wasted 99 cents on something. So I appreciate your donation.
No question. Now that GDD thing, that's a deep dive, man. We'll have to do a video on that or something sometime. It's a good topic, and especially if you're into gardening, like it's a really big deal. It's a really, because everybody thinks it's just turf. I mean, any plant you can think of, we can get a phenological counter for it, right? And we can talk about bud emergence, leaf emergence, fruit emergence, right? Like all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a really, really important topic. That it's a good guide point and a good waypoint setting for, hey, when should I expect to see this, or when should I start looking for this? And to your point about being out on the lawn, as much as you can, if not every day, to take a look at things, it's going to help you understand what you should be anticipating, right? And that's such a big piece of what we do, is not being reactive, right? But being responsive and being anticipatory. And I'm sure it's the same in your job, right? Like you don't want to be reactive in EOD. That's not a good thing, I don't think.
No. You show up and you just figure out, how would I kill me? That's what I do when I go to the scene. How would I kill me? And then I do the exact opposite of everything that I would do to kill myself. And it's worked out for me. I'm still here.
You're talking to us right now. So on that note, thank you deeply and greatly for your service. Honestly, thank you so much for everything that you've done for this country, for the lawn care community, the gardening community. It's a fantastic story, man. I can't say enough about what you've done, and I know what you will do in the future. So, Ray, anything to add as we close this thing out?
No, I think you are just basically you are the kind of YouTuber that we like to see. We really like to see folks like you because you've taken an interest. You are like absolutely adamant about doing the right thing. I mean, that is actually a quality that we find rare on YouTube nowadays when it pertains to lawn care. It's more a matter of how much can I do it wrong and get clicks almost.
Yeah.
Where you keep it light, you keep it you keep it fun, but at the same time it's all about doing things right, and I really admire that in people. I totally
appreciate that,
admire
Ray.
that.
I know
I
it's a
mean,
lot coming from you.
no, because it's it's easy to impress me, but it's also very easy for me to say no. No. So you just you just keep on doing what you're doing, and thank you for what else you do, because I'm not sure I could live with handling high explosives or even very unstable and amateurishly made low explosives. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I feel the
Hey, and
same
if
way
you
about
guys,
combat medics.
I was just gonna say, if you guys do download his app, go ahead and leave him a review. That matters.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that, guys.
So on that same token, where can folks find out more about you and interact with you, both on obviously on YouTube but also other social media platforms?
I'm on IG. Usually when I'm on IG, it's literally just like little quirks of the day. I'm gonna keep the Lunch Day Sagas series going whenever my schedule allows. But I'm really busy. I tend to work a very lot of hours during the week, but whenever I have a free week, you'll tell because you'll see a lot of me, And then when you see me disappear for a little while, it's literally because I'm busy at work. So balancing lawn, gardening, military, still going TDY, completing the mission. It's a lot to juggle. So I'm not around all the time, but when I'm there, I try to be engaging. If you email me, sometimes it gets me. Sometimes I take up to a week to respond to an email, but you can also email me, and that's in the about section on my YouTube channel as well. So IG, I do have a Facebook channel, but literally it's just an extension of my IG. I'm not really over there as much. So if you want to find me, IG is probably the quickest way. Email the second way, and then third way would just be drop a comment on the video.
Awesome. Well, this is going to wrap up the show, the regular show, but if you are a subscriber to the Grass Factory YouTube channel, you will get access inside the Discord on Dirty Deeds. If you don't know what that is, you'll have to subscribe right now. I will say, and we'll give the same disclaimer that my younger and less hairy brother Matt always does, it is not for the faint of heart. There will be bad words, there will be strong takes, and we might even, I don't know, talk a little bit of shit. It's hard to say. But with that being said, if you do want to join us, please come over. Please go ahead and subscribe right now. That link will be live for 10 minutes. 10 minutes only. It will disappear from the face of this earth thereafter. Nobody will ever see, hear, or speak of this ever again. With that being said, Robert, thank you so very much for everything that you've done for the lawn care community, for our country, and I wish you well, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.